Of the ICE agents, a couple of them got out of the car, approached her car, and that's when she was trying to leave and she backed up. There was an agent, he says, on the left kind of corner of her car, but near her window. And as she tried to pull forward, he says, to leave, that officer fired 3 times into her face. Now, when I asked him, was his hand in the window or outside the window? Was his hand actually inside the vehicle when he fired, when she tried to pull away? He said he wasn't sure. It was very close to the window. It could have been in, could have been out. He wasn't sure. But as you've seen in past cases of officer-involved shootings, we've seen that hand in the window become an issue on whether it was a justified shooting or not. A lot of folks around here say it wasn't justified. She wasn't a threat. She wasn't trying to run anybody over. But it's really unclear. I think that's probably going to end up being a crucial point in this. Was his hand inside the window as she was driving off? Was he fearing?
And started driving around, and the person who was by the driver's side originally, not the man who pulled on the door, but who was originally there, shot through the driver's side window 3 times, and the car drove down the street a little bit more and then swerved into a car and then ultimately a telephone pole.
Okay. I think that's really all, because I'm not trying to get you to comment on that. You just saw this. Did you see an ambulance come? Did you?
An ambulance came a few minutes later. There was some delay getting the ambulance to the vehicle because of the number of ICE vehicles in the street, and sort of they slowly moved their SUVs and trucks out of the way. Somebody wearing a camo and a vest that just said police, I think they're ICE, but no identification. Grabbed an orange sort of OtterBox style case and ran up to the vehicle, and they pulled the person out and onto the boulevard before the ambulance got there.
When you saw it happen, was that vehicle still moving? Was it at all going towards an agent at that point? Or?
So the agents had been on either side, so they just backed up a few feet and then drove forward again. Somebody else said that the vehicle had been stuck in the snow a little bit. So they weren't driving at a person with any intention of hitting them.
I don't feel like law enforcement has listened to us at all. In fact, we have a lot of evidence of them protecting ICE, allowing them to do what seem to be really very clear violations of our local law, and we witnessed that a lot in our constitutional observations out of the Whipple building, which is ICE headquarters, both for local operations but also for the Upper Midwest. Regionally, and we see just day in and day out more and more illegal ICE activity, and I want to also be really clear, some people are not comfortable talking with or sharing information with law enforcement because of the fact that there's no trust between community and law enforcement for the most part, and certainly no trust whatsoever between community members who are being targeted in law enforcement.
And Marie, as you're talking about that, we're looking at a live picture, we were just a moment ago, of that vehicle that we know was driven by a 37-year-old woman who has now passed away. It is on that tow truck right now. Now, of course, we know FBI, BCA, all of these agencies on the scene here, as well as the Sheriff's Department, had been investigating this for the last few hours. So this vehicle will then be taken, but we're not sure, when the crime tape will be taken down and then what this will look like afterwards. But of course, we'll play that out for you as that happens. But Marie, I did want to ask you, as you're talking about this, do you kind of just feel like you're just at an ending point where it's, you have the question of what can we do at this point? If you're mentioning, you have this team of dedicated people, documenting ICE, you're trying to go to, as you mentioned, city council or the important people, we would say, in these positions. Where do you feel like you can go at this point, especially after seeing what happened here today in Minneapolis?
I think where we go from here is very clear, and it's where we've been going. Since ICE descended on the Twin Cities metro area here, we have seen an incredible response of regular people like myself, and many of my neighbors who I know dearly are out in the streets and doing this incredible community safety work. We have thousands of people that are plugged into rapid response networks, and over the past couple of days in this what they say 2,000 agents being deployed over the next month, the intensity of ICE activity in our community has reached a level that we've not even remotely seen in the previous weeks. And what I see is community members standing up stronger. The people that I work with, we say, you know, as scary as everything is that ICE is doing, and as scary as it is that our local elected officials, for the most part, and certainly our state and local police departments are doing nothing to stop it. As scary as that is, we are all feeling incredibly motivated and brave together to continue our work and to continue to grow our rapid response network so we can keep eyes on ICE. It's so important. And quite frankly, I'm a big believer in we need to get ICE out of our community. ICE should, in my mind, not exist. It has not been around for very long as a institution, and we did just fine without them, and we'll do just fine without them again once they no longer exist.
Marie, thanks for being with us. We, again, wanted to kind of call out organizations like Veterans for Peace, which is what you're a part of. 5051 is another one, just sort of regular people who are passionate about something and want to try to do everything they can within their constitutional rights to make a difference here. Immigration Defense Network is another one, and I know they're doing sessions currently right now in about 5 different cities around the state on teaching people how to be constitutional observers to keep people safe and prevent something like this from happening.
Administration said a couple months ago that social media posts will be used to determine the moral character of a lot of immigrants and in vulnerable communities that can be easily targeted, and that's a flagrant violation of the Constitution, as we all know.
So they didn't tell him they were going to deny him, and yet ICE agents were waiting outside the door. You tell me how that makes sense. He's a decorated, disabled U.S. Army veteran. We have 2 little kids under the age of 3. He's married to a U.S. citizen. He's been here 25 years. He's a peaceful, law-abiding pillar of the community. He's been hand-selected by the governor of Washington to serve on multiple statewide boards and commissions, positions of incredible trust.
The situation with the detention center and the growing funding, arming, and expansion of this militarized enforcer agency.
Great. Thank you so much, Halima. And I'd like to just, highlight for us all that something Halima said about ICE, this agency, this secret police force that is kidnapping people off the streets, making them disappear. This secret police has been expanded and funded every administration, regardless of what team they play for. Every Democratic and Republican Congress has voted to give these people more money, more equipment, more authority. These people, there are no laws to hold these people accountable as there are regular police forces. And this is the police state that the establishment has created for us. Regardless of which team they claim to represent, what they really represent is the protection of capital and the enforcement of the police state. And it highlights for me why this system is unredeemable. That this is what we as Greens and as people who refuse to play this game, why we must fight against this. And I don't want to sugarcoat it. All of us are going to be at risk, and we have to be willing to accept that risk. If you don't accept the risk and accept the danger and accept that we have things to lose and are willing to lose those to fight for what's right, then we are complicit. We are suddenly going to wash our hands of it because we are not in danger yet. But when rights are taken from one group, they can be taken from every group. And what is happening to our neighbors now, will happen to us in the future if we do not stand up and fight back.
So the call went out again today. Hey, this school is being targeted. We need people to show up when school is letting out in the afternoon. I am in a group that is specifically about immigrant support for my part of Portland. And so I got the message. And originally I was supposed to be in North Portland for an appointment and that got canceled. And I was like, you know what? I've got time. Let's go. I'll be there. One of my neighbors wanted to go and we're like, cool, we're showing up.
There are some parts of this that are just about optics. Let's be clear. Obama's still the deporter-in-chief, and Trump is still chasing Obama's deportation records, which goes back to the point that Mark, brought me in on. Do not think of these as separate and distinct parties. Think of this as a single capitalist imperialist party that has competing factions inside of it, one blue, one red. But if you were to make a Venn diagram of the donor base of those two parties, you would be staring at a single circle with AIPAC in the middle of it, with Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman, with the war machine and the imperial machine right at the heart of the funding structure for both of those parties. It's just that the optics and the theatrics of power with respect to immigrant communities differs between Team Blue and Team Red.
They'll threaten to arrest you. They'll threaten your children trying to get you to comply. Remember, authoritarians, right? They want to move the needle. They want to declare you no longer have this right. This legal thing that you're doing, we're now going to declare it illegal. And if you say, okay, I guess I have to go along with that, then they've now moved the needle on what is legal and illegal. You only have rights if you exercise them. This is why I think that we all underestimate the importance of showing solidarity with immigrants who are being targeted, making it very clear that we are not in support of what the regime is doing and that we stand with our immigrant neighbors, we stand with our immigrant children. That very public physical display in and of itself, very powerful. But also there is the deterrent effect. So ICE didn't show up today. We all stood there until the kids got out, the school buses got out, parents came and picked up their children, and then we all went home. But while we were there, I'm very introverted in real life, but you know what? I used my box of whistle kits as this is the way that I can pretend to be an extrovert and strike up conversations with people. So I'm walking around handing out whistle kits, and I talked with several people. Almost everybody who was there came by themselves. They didn't know anybody else who was showing up. They saw a social media post or it was shared in some signal group that they're in, and they decided all on their own, I need to show up for these children. And they did. And I want to convey here how important that is and what an act of courage that is. It takes an awful lot in 2025 in the United States to just all on your own step out and take a risk. You don't know anybody who's going to be there. You don't know what's going to happen, except you know that ICE might show up. And to decide, I'm just going to step out and trust that the other people there are going to have my back, that I won't be alone. I'm going to take this risk. I'm going to step out in courage, and I'm going to stand there and protect these kids.
Hey.
Quit your job! Quit your job! Quit your job! Quit your job!
We have to this point proven incapable of actually beating back the rise. And the reason for that is simple. The reason for that is straightforward, is that these remain mobilizations around the specific issue rather than organization against the system, which is productive of the issues. I told you that Malcolm said, we're not outnumbered, we're out-organized. I told you that Kwame Ture said, revolutionaries don't just mobilize around issues, revolutionaries organize against systems. I say that the role of a revolutionary political party is that it channels the people's energies from mobilization around the specific issues that face respective communities into organization against the systems that produce the oppression of all. It means that we're no longer mobilizing around trans rights in a silo. It means we're no longer mobilizing around LGBTQ rights in a silo, or immigrant rights in a silo, or police brutality in a silo, or Palestinian liberation in a silo. We are understanding and presenting to the public the structural relationship between all of these forms and positing simply and in a straightforward way that that simply protesting these forms of oppression will produce no outcome.